Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's me, SB. So as you can see, today I have a crochet tutorial for you, and we are going to be making this dishcloth. And keep watching to the end because I have a bonus tutorial close to the end of the video. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to need to accomplish this project is, of course, your yarn, and what I would suggest is a 100% cotton yarn or a cotton blend yarn. And my thought on this is because it is going to be a dishcloth or a washcloth, so you want something that's going to absorb the water and hold it. Anyways, what I have here is two different types of 100% cotton yarn. And this particular yarn is actually from hobby.com. Rainbow 8x8 quality 100% cotton yarn. And this is actually a sport weight yarn. And this is the yarn that I use for my project. This is also rainbow. I just put it in a big cake. And another thing that I have here that you can actually get at Joann's, Michael's, I think sometimes Walmart even carries it occasionally, is this Lily Sugar and Cream, and this is the original. I picked this up, I believe, at Joann Fabrics, and this is actually a worsted weight. So you have options, and if you use a worsted weight yarn, your project is going to come out a little bit bigger, but that's fine. I mean, it's a dishcloth. The next thing you're going to need is, of course, your crochet hook. And the brand that I'm using is a Boy, and it is an H8 or a 5mm hook. And if you feel like this hook is too small for the worsted, go ahead and go up a size. It's not going to hurt anything, I promise. Another thing that is completely optional and up to you, if you want to make it a more scrubby type dishcloth, is some toolie, or it's actually tulle. Some tulle. And these balls of tulle I've actually had for a really long time because I made a bunch of scrubbies way back in the day. I mean, I made a ton of them. All I did was cut them at about 1 inch wide, because any wider and it's just gonna get crazy. Like, it makes it super duper thick. Like, here's an example here. I made this holding like a tulle that was this wide. I think that's like, what, 8 inches wide, and this is how thick it came out. I mean, it's gonna work, but it was kind of hard to deal with. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the tutorial. Okay, like with anything, we are going to start with our slip knot, and we are going to chain up 20 chains. And if you would like to make this bigger or smaller, the multiple of stitches that we are going to be using is 2 plus 2. So just remember that number. So you're going to chain up a multiple of 2 and then add 2 at the end. So in our second chain from our hook, we are simply going to single crochet. In the next chain, we are going to double crochet. Single crochet, double crochet, single crochet. And our double crochet, single crochet is going to be our pattern repeat until the end of the row. And you should end with a single crochet into your last stitch. At the end of your row, we are simply going to turn and chain 1. Single crochet into the first single crochet, double crochet into the next stitch, single crochet, and double crochet. And that is going to be your repeat pattern, simply single crocheting into your single crochets and double crochet into your double crochets. Go ahead and repeat this row all the way until you reach your desired length, or if you're following this pattern exactly, around 12 rows. So I'll be back whenever I complete that and we will continue on from there. And remember, whenever you reach the end of the row, our chain 1 at the beginning of our row does not count. But be sure that you have maintained your stitch count of 19 stitches across. Okay, so here is my completed dishcloth, and it's actually not completed yet, but I wanted to show you, or tell you rather, how wide this is about 5.5 inches wide by, you guessed it, 5.5 inches. You know, you can make it longer, you can make it a little shorter, you know, it's whatever you want. It's very customizable. Alright, so once you reach your 12th row, do not fasten off your work because we are going to work around our perimeter of our dishcloth. So what I like to do is I like to just chain 1 and turn and just work single crochets all the way around. And I forgot to mention earlier, but you are going to need a stitch marker for this. So I'm going to use an orange one. And if you're interested where I got all of these stitch markers, I will leave a link in the description below and also in a pinned comment in the comments below if you want this set. And it's not sponsored, by the way. So we are going to work 3 single crochets into our first stitch. Go ahead and mark that first stitch. So that was 1, 2, 3. And for every single corner that we go to, we are going to work 3 stitches into that one stitch. So I'm just going to work across 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we worked across 17 stitches, and in our last stitch we are going to place 3 single crochets. Okay. And now we're going to be working on our edge stitches. Now all of our edge stitches should be our chain 1 and a single crochet. So technically we should have, for every chain 1 and single crochet, we are just going to place a single crochet into that space just to try to keep it even. So on the edge stitches here, we are going to place 14 single crochets on our edge stitches. And in our corner stitch, 3 single crochets into that corner stitch. And then we're just going to single crochet into every single chain here. Now some of these are going to be kind of tight, but just do your best to go through them. And you should have 17 single crochets on your chain here. Alright, once again in our corner stitch, we are going to place 3 single crochets. and 3. And while we're here, we are going to go ahead and weave in our tail on this edge here. And we are going to try to maintain 14 stitches right in here. Sometimes it's a little difficult, but if you don't get the exact amount, don't worry about it. Don't stress too much about it. Just kind of go with it. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning here, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch to my first stitch, and that's going to complete this round. And I'm going to fasten off with this color here. Go ahead and pull that through, and I'm just going to put my hook in this stitch here because I am going to attach this purple color, and we are going to make a border, another border around it. So in order to attach a new color, all I'm going to do is make a slip knot. I'm going to remember where my first stitch is. I'm just going to place my stitch marker right there. Insert my hook into that first stitch. Yarn over hook, pull through, and then just attach it that way and tighten up our slip knot right there. And now I'm just going to add a double crochet border around my dishcloth or washcloth. So to do that, I am just going to chain 2, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet into that same stitch because the chain 2 is not going to count at all. And then in the next stitch, we are going to place 3 double crochets into that 1 stitch. 3. And now I'm just going to work all the way across to our center single crochet. And I will be done at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so you are going to double crochet across for 19 stitches, and in that 20th stitch we are going to place 3 double crochets, and we are going to work across to our next corner stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So you're going to work across the other side for 16 double crochets. And in your corner stitch, we are going to place 3 double crochets. And you're just going to repeat that sequence for the other 2 edges. So here I am at the last stitch of my round, and now all we're going to do is we are going to slip stitch to our first stitch, which should be marked. And now we are going to fasten off. And there you go. And there is our completed dishcloth. Now all that's left to do is to weave in our ends, and we can go to wash our dishes right now if we wanted to, or wash our face or whatever. It will relax the stitches once you get it wet and start using it and whatnot, and you'll be able to see that beautiful stitch. But other than that, it's a very, very nice closed stitch. So in the next few clips, I am just going to show you how I work with my tulle held together with my cotton yarn. It's just an example of how you could do it if you wanted to. And I'm actually going to make a smaller version of this with the tulle and also with no border around it. So I'm going to take my white tulle and we are just going to hold the tulle together along with our cotton yarn, or with whatever yarn you're using, and do a slip knot. Insert my hook. I'm also using the same hook. Now this, I usually put it in like a little bowl or something, because I did have to knot it in places to join the strings of yarn or tulle. Of course, if you have a spool of it, you're golden. You don't have to worry about that. So now I'm just going to work up basically the same pattern, but now it's going to be a little thicker because of the tulle. So I have 16 stitches or chains here, and our multiple was 2 plus 2. So I'm going to chain up an extra 2 stitches for a total of 18. And I am just going to work up the same pattern that we did just now. And I will be back whenever I complete this, so that way you can see what it looks like. So some key notes about working with tulle and yarn is that you're going to find it a little difficult to maintain your tension on the yarn. It doesn't really bother me too much, because if you're doing something like this, your gauge isn't really important, because you're making something that's going to be getting wet and being stretched out, used, getting dirty, you know, that kind of thing. And as for the fill on your hand, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I've never used scrubby yarn before, so I'd imagine it'd feel something similar to that. Another thing is that if you had to do what I did, if you had to connect several strands together, you are going to have knots, but that doesn't bother me at all, because I mean, it's a scrubby, so it's just going to have more texture at that point to, you know, get more of that scrubby action. And what else? It might take you a little longer to crochet something when you're holding these two items together, but for me it doesn't really take that much longer. It's only because you're having to constantly readjust and make sure that you have consistent tension on both the tulle and the yarn. So I was talking to my husband and he saw this and he said, "Oh, are you gonna fold it over so that way you can make it like a little, where you can put your hand in there and use it to scrub out coffee cups?" And I was like, oh my god, that is such a good idea. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do. I think I made it wide enough. It should stretch out enough when it's wet to be able to let your your fingers fit in there. And I'm just gonna make it maybe 3 rows longer, and I'm just gonna seam up the edges and turn it into a tube, and we're gonna have like a bottle scrubby. Oh my god, I like stumbled ass backwards into this. It's pretty cool. Anyways, I'm gonna continue on and I will give you the dimensions of my little bottle scrubby, or just scrubby in general. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my completed little scrubby thing. I'm gonna call it a scrubby wash cloth, and it is about 6 inches wide by 4 inches, so 6 by 4. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave my yarn connected, and I am just gonna fold it over. Since this fabric is reversible, it doesn't really matter which way we go. And I am just gonna, I forgot to chain one. I'm gonna chain one and then fold it over. There we go. And I am just gonna single crochet across here. And then in my last little row here, I am just gonna slip stitch so that way it'll kind of hide that little seam, and I'm gonna fasten off. And once it gets wet, it'll start stretching out. I figured that would be a good scrubby, so you can wipe, you know, hold it like this and you don't have to run the risk of losing it. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and weave in these ends. I'm gonna show you how I usually do it whenever I'm working with tulle. I usually separate the tulle from the yarn, you know, because you're holding it together. And I weave in each one separately because the tulle kind of gets, you'll see, it gets, it's hard to work through. So you have to kind of take your time and work it through. But you weave your ends in the way you like, because my way may not be your way. Alright, and I'm just gonna flip it inside out. But yeah, there it is. Here is our scrubby that we can pull our hand through. Of course, I should have made it just a little bit wider, but that's okay. And now you can use it to scrub like this, or scrub the inside of a mug or something similar. And here we go, we're all done. You just made a dishcloth and a scrubby in this video. So tell me what you guys think. Was this project a hit or was it a miss? Let me know in the comments down below. I will also put it in the comment section below as a pinned comment. So yeah, let me know what colors you're gonna use to make your little dishcloth and scrubby set. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay crafty and stay safe out there. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye!